Hi, I'm Amy Barrett Daffin, and I want to show you how to use your QuiltGenius Design Tool Kit. And I've got a couple different things I'm going to show you today. First off, this is a great tool to use for someone who, when you want to unplug, unwind, and just sketch out some quilt ideas. And we all get ideas from different places, so it's really nice to have a tool that makes it easy to do that. So how do you use the QuiltGenius Design Tool Kit? There's so many different things you can do, and I'm going to show you how to use it to create block designs. So I wanted to show you, when I did it, I just grabbed a page and I started to draw. And I used the shapes on the paper, or the shapes that I had on the template, and you'll see, so I started off with making an 80 by 80 throw. So I used my paper, I used the template, I marked the corners, and then I just used the edge of this to draw my shape, my large shape. And then I started drawing squares. So I drew these squares, and my nephew Adam is graduating from college with a degree in math. And so I thought, well, it would be fun to do these kinds of shapes. So next what I did, I used this and I started drawing the flying geese. And then I drew the square on point, which was I used this one. And then I drew the circle. And so I started drawing all these shapes. And then I was like, how am I actually going to make this? So I called Betsy, because that's what you do. And I asked her, and she said, well, let's look at your drawing. So we looked at it, and she said, well, you've got all these half square triangles. That's going to make it really easy. So then what I did was I just drew a line here and here, and all of a sudden I've got half square triangles that are easy to make because I know they're 8 inches. So now I started just breaking down my project and realized for all these different shapes, these are how many blocks were in each one. So then I could actually figure out the math. And then I decided, well, how am I going to do the circles? Then I thought, well, I don't want one big piece of color, so I'm going to do a bunch of strips of different widths, cut them out, and then use our wash away applique sheets, applique it down, fold the edges over, stitch it down, and then wash it away. So that's how I'm going to do this. So that's just one example of how you could use this. With this one, say that you want to play with shapes and come up with repeat patterns. So in this one, this was the block that came from one of our Quilt Builder card decks. And then Betsy thought, well, I'm going to draw it darker. I'm going to make the parts that are lighter here darker. So now she has 3 different values. So she's got a light value, a medium value, and a dark value. And then she decided, okay, if I turned that into a 4-block quilt, what would that look like? And all of a sudden you see the magic of the repeat. And that's really, really wonderful. So it's fun to create these repeat patterns just by sketching them out. So the next example I have to show you is this sunshine and shadow block. So here's the block here. And so you start drawing it, and you get these secondary patterns. And that's really an aha moment when you see a block like this that turns into this wonderful secondary pattern. And then you say, okay, I like that one, but what else could I do? And then here's another way to do it. You get a completely different looking quilt. And now these are just sketched in with gray pencil, but you could do it in color pencil. I like to work in color pencil. I know Betsy likes to work in grayscale because she can always add the colors later. So with this, what you'll see is with the 4-inch scale, this would be a 16-inch block, and all of a sudden you've got a great quilt that would be 32 inches by 32 inches with these 4 blocks. Another example of how to use this tool is you could take blocks from the Quilt Builder card deck. So I took 3 blocks, I'm making a wedding quilt, and I decided I wanted to do these 3 different blocks. And so I started drawing it, and this is my sketch. And I really like the Quilt Builder card decks because they have blocks that go from 6 inches to 36 inches. And so this big heart in the center is 36 inches, and then these are all 12 inches. So you can see with my blocks here, I'm using the formal garden here, and then the broken dishes here. And then what I was able to do, because these have the math, is I was able to add up how many I needed from each one of the blocks. So I could come up with the total number for all the cutting that I needed to do, and then which ones from which card deck I pulled, so that I knew which blocks I used. So this is another great way to use the tool. Here in this example, say that you have some lonely blocks that are waiting to be used. Betsy has 14 scrappy pineapple blocks that she didn't know how to use, so she sketched out a medallion quilt, and now she's got a great way to use those all the pineapple blocks that she has. She can use them up because she's designed this quilt for it. So she's figuring she could make it up to 72 inches, or she could keep it smaller at 48 inches. And that's the great thing about using the shapes in this, is it's really easy to figure out the sizes. Okay, and here's another example you can use. Here's a photograph from a magazine. It's got a pillow in it. So how could that pillow translate into a quilt design, or just to start getting you thinking about a quilt design? So here you go. So you come up with, you just start sketching it out. And here's a design that Betsy came up with where, you know, she could mirror the design here and then carry it through and have more stripes. And then she's got these teeny little ones in here and create some sort of a asymmetrical design. She could add more triangles. She could add another row of bigger triangles or of diamonds. There's all sorts of things she could do with this. And when I was thinking about that, I grabbed a copy of Architectural Digest and I thought, well, what other things could you get inspiration from? And I saw this one and I thought, wow, there's some really fun shapes in here. You've got these nice curves, you've got sort of a 12 patch, you've got some wonderful colors, you've got these little clovers in the middle, and all of this is just begging to be turned into a quilt design. And here's another example. I saw this page spread and I was like, oh, look at those colors together. Now these ads have nothing to do with each other, but you see you've got these beautiful greens and creams and you've got them repeating over here. And this is a really neat looking sort of improvisational design that could be a quilt design. Here's another one. I love the colors here, and I love how there's straight rows that go into these circles and the text at the top and these different colors and the colors he has on. Lots of ways to get inspiration. And then this last one, I just love the colors in it, but then I also started looking at some of the repeating patterns in the background and how you could use this wallpaper pattern, or you could use this rail with the brown and the blue, or the wood pattern over here, or the pattern on the outfit right here. So many ways to get design ideas, and then you take those design ideas and you transfer them onto your graph paper. So those are just some of the things that you can do with the graph paper. So what you want to do is just play around, and when you see something, try to come up with a design idea, even if you're just sketching it out. And not all designs are going to be successful, but the thing is to play and to sew. And so this product will not take you from I've drawn a picture to I have everything I need to make the quilt. What it will do is give you the inspiration and the ideas to take what you see, put it down on paper, and then convert it into something you can sew. So thank you very much. I hope you enjoy the QuiltGenius Design Tool Kit.